Good morning and welcome to Business Morning, live here on Channels Television, Nigeria's news leader. I am Bosun Omofai. I hope you had a very great weekend, and this is the Christmas business week. But let's get the show started. Don't be scared. That's the message from Nigeria's Head of Securities and Exchange Commission, Mary Uduk, telling shareholders not to fear prosecution if they step forward and regularize shares they purchased with multiple identities many years ago. According to the SEC Director General, the shareholders are not going to be prosecuted. We just want them to come forward and take back their shares and register them properly with the CSCS, that's the Securities and Clearing House, so that the trading float in the market will increase. According to the SEC, the amnesty window for shareholders with multiple share subscriptions has been extended from December 31st, 2018 till the end of next year. Multiple share subscriptions has been identified as a key factor behind Nigeria's very huge unclaimed dividend portfolio, currently estimated at above more than 100 billion naira. So how did we arrive at where we are? Billions of shares were reportedly purchased via multiple identities or falsified information, especially during the bank and insurance sector recapitalization and the market boom of 2004, 2008. If you remember those years when banks were selling dozens of billions of shares, and after that, the insurance sector recapitalization came in, reports were, of course, rife that a number of folks bought shares in the names of their house helps and friends and families and relatives. This was, of course, in clear violation of the securities market regulations. Now, with those shares hanging in the balance without no claim of ownership, those shares, as you may expect, are not free to be traded. Then the dividends accruing to those shares are also be in limbo. So now the SEC is coming forward, and after making several appeals over the last year, now asking the owners of such shareholders, of such shares, not to be afraid that they will be prosecuted by the Nigerian government, telling them to just step forward and claim ownership of those shares so that the market float will increase and they will reduce unclaimed dividend. Meantime, the SEC Acting Director General has also asked shareholders to embrace the ongoing e-dividend, what you call the electronic dividend registration, to reduce the level of unclaimed dividend and increase market liquidity. According to a statement released over the weekend, the acting SEC chief says unclaimed dividend is an undesirable feature of the Nigerian capital market. It denies the economy access to huge amounts of money that would have gone to oil the wheel of the economy. E-dividend bypasses previous limitations, that's the current regime, ensuring dividends which do not exceed 12 years of issue are credited directly to an investor's bank account. And since 2016, November 23rd, a total of 2.4 million e-dividend accounts have been mandated, according to the SEC, and the regulator, of course, underwrote the cost of registration for the initial phase of the e-dividend until that window was closed on March the 31st this year. Okay, let's relax a little bit, and everyone's getting a little bit uptight with the year. So let's relax. It's called Relaxnomics. So let's bring it down for you. This is what Bismarck Rwane's financial derivative company rolled out, a 40-page Relaxnomics Christmas 2018 edition. That's the title. This document listed 8 areas for you to focus on: money, travel, sports, puzzles, wedding, food, lifestyle, and technology. According to the economist, Mr. Rwane, it's been a very tough year. But what do we expect? And this is what he wrote in the publisher's note of that 40-page document. Mr. Rwane says, it was 10 years ago that the global financial crisis wreaked havoc across most nations. And as 2018 comes to an end, we are beginning to see symptoms of a possible recession in the US in the year 2020. So, in a bid to fully insulate Nigeria from this dark cloud of economic instability, voters will be looking to use their PVCs to empower candidates in Nigeria's 2019 February elections. Mr. Rwani says further in a statement that it may be hard, it may be a hard choice to pick between Nigeria's political fifth and sixth 11, not the first 11. In spite of all this, we all need to get more rest and relaxation in this season. So the special Christmas edition of Relaxnomics is filled with seasonal inspirations for everyone to close the year 2018 in style and kick off the new year 2019 with vigor. I will show you a little bit of those slides later on, what you can need to focus on, some of the movies that you can watch, what about your lifestyle, money, investment, and everything in between. You got all that in what you call Rwani's Relaxnomics. And the stock market also did relax a little bit on Friday, despite the budget 2019 brouhaha, as well as the angst against the unemployment level, reading 25.1% in the latest numbers. The stock market finished off in a bit of a soft rally. The unlisted securities were also soft on the positive side, and we saw a massive trading at the bond and the treasuries market. So let's take this Relaxnomics to Temple Ashaju, who is our business correspondent, live to us at the Nigerian Stock Exchange. Temple, good morning. Hope you had a very nice weekend. I'm not sure if you've read Mr. Rwani and his team's FDC's 40-page Relaxnomics for Christmas season. I'm not sure what will be your pick from money to, let me just check, travel, sports, puzzles, lifestyle, wedding. You're already married, so you don't need all of that. Okay, that's it. You need to take your pick. Sports is there. We did well with the Falcons, so I take that as a positive one. And a lot of weddings, and that is also good. But those event centers are creating a lot of traffic snarl across the city. Last Saturday was the testimony of that. Then you have lifestyle, a lot of good movies in the box office. Then technology, okay, food, yes, you can get a lot of travel. Well, depending on the road, some folks already traveled. Money always comes first. You can see that at the top left corner. Whatever you're doing down there, whether you're doing sports or puzzles or travel or lifestyle or weddings, you need number one, which is money. Temple, what do you vote for among these 8?
I'll go for 2 out of that, Bosun. That's money and lifestyle.
Money and lifestyle.
So it's so important because there's always a way to make money out of lifestyle. Absolutely.
But to have a nice lifestyle, you also need money. You need money for everything.
Absolutely. That's why I'm choosing the 2.
Okay. Yeah, I'm going to put this out to my guests.
Once you get the money, then you go the way of lifestyle and you're able to do some good reputation management for yourself.
Okay. That's a nice one. But again, if you look at the markets, and we'll talk about this lifestyle and all that a little bit later, not a very bad way to end the week before Christmas across these market segments. Read them out for us. Take us through them.
Absolutely. So yes, Bosun, we had 3 battered sessions and 2 positive sessions. At the end of the week, we were able to get, close positive eventually, up some 0.33%. And that's what the indices of the Nigerian Stock Exchange talks about. So they are 30,773.64. And we saw equity capitalization at 11.24 trillion naira. Now, the index is still at the 30,000 psychological level, in line with what a lot of analysts have talked about. Look at the volume. We saw huge volume. Buying sentiments this last week in the market tells you that a lot of investors have continued to take position. We've seen a whole lot of the analyst firms now reviewing their buy and sell ratings on a lot of the companies. Even times when the market closes negative, we still see that the buy side of it increases. So throughout this week, we saw huge buying sentiments, buying in terms of volume by a lot of the domestic and, of course, a few institutional investors here, in reflecting on the volume. This last week alone, we saw some 1.472 billion units of shares traded, and all valued at 8.67 billion naira. And that was all that took place in just 15,610 pen deals. So the whole negative sentiment, as we've seen in the past few weeks, now has been bucked by this bullish sentiment that we saw. Look at the top gainers. We have two key companies, Diamond Bank and Unity Bank. Diamond Bank was able to do almost 60%, but 57.89% precisely in terms of appreciation in its share price. Unity Bank had its AGM after a very long while this week that just ended, and look at the number. It turned out about 40% in terms of share price appreciation this week. Although Unity Bank management on the board is yet to give out a kind of press statement on the conclusion of the meeting that took place in Uyo, but we understand that a lot of investors have been increasing their position on this particular company. Just Japol and Ikeja Hotel were the two key losers for this week. If you look at the sectors, the banking segment was positive by 18 basis points. Consumer goods segment was about the only sector that dipped, and we saw that insurance was positive by 3.48% owing to the kind of improvements that we saw in the share price of Mansard and Custodian Allied Insurance. Industrial goods segment was also positive by 1.14%. All the major cement companies, CCNN, Dangote Cement and WAPCO, helped that particular segment of the market. In terms of the oil and gas segment, we see that investors have continued to increase their shares in Forte Oil, Mobil, which closed this week, this last week, 18.01%, and of course Total, which is around 200 naira now. We've seen that ARM is increasing. It has changed its analysis on that particular company, asking investors to go for some kind of strong buy sentiment on that company. The brewers were not left out because they were also able to help the markets for this period. In terms of the energy stocks that we track, this Friday we saw that Forte Oil did some 9.63% in terms of its share price. It rose by that percentage point, that margin. MRS was also positive by about 10%. We saw that O&O was flat and Seplat was up some 1.43%. There was no trade on a couple of other stocks there, but then if you look at Etana PLC, it didn't change. Japol was at 20 kobo and it had some 1.25 million units of its shares traded. At the NASD OTC, which is the unlisted securities market, the trend was also bullish, was up some 0.44%, closing at 712.39 points, basically. The market capitalization was at 495.12 billion naira. That's where the market settled. We do hope that it will still touch the 500 billion naira that it hit in the previous week. Look at the volume. Volume was 88.11 billion, and the value was 1.7 billion naira, and that was up by, or down rather, some 31%. At the fixed income market, Bosun, average yields for a lot of the bonds now was at 42 basis points, basically. We saw a total of 5.75 billion naira sold in terms of bonds now at the auction that took place last week. A lot of the tenors experienced some 15% increase in terms of the stop rates. It was about just the 7-year bond that was flat at 15.50%. Diamond Bank, in terms of corporate bonds now, Diamond Bank 2019 Euro bond contracted some 591 basis points week on week as a result of the mergers and acquisition between the bank and Access Bank. That settled at 20%. In terms of the Treasury bill segment, average yields was now 42 basis points at 15%. That follows, of course, the moderation that we saw at the short and the long ends of the curve. Investors and analysts are positive about the kind of sentiment that we've seen in this on these securities last week, Bosun.
Okay, our Tempo, we will talk a little bit later on the program. We'll touch base with you regarding the multiple shares account. You know, folks that bought shares in those days of market boom, billions of shares that are now hanging in the firmament or kind of a limbo, and you can't even claim those shares on one hand, nor claim the dividends. Now, it looks like everybody's scared of President Buhari's anti-corruption. So those guys, they are very scared of coming out and owning those shares. So the SEC chief shares, don't be scared, folks. Open the door, come in, side and regularize those shares. Temple. Okay, let's leave it at that. Let's talk about agripreneurs evangelism when we come back after the break. You're watching Business Morning.